Hey guys, happy 2022. Last year, I think I was completely burnt out. I know I promised you guys a video and I never did it, and I was just utterly exhausted. I think all of the excitement, all of the fear, everything just came crashing down on me, and I was just like, I just need a bit of a break. I'm really excited to share some of the testing that I did with my printer. I did record some videos while I was doing some of the prints so that you can see some of the things that you need to look at, and also what my process was. And boy, was it a process. But something really exciting is that I just launched my introduction to 3D clay printing on Skillshare. And this is for anyone who wants to learn how to start doing 3D clay printing, what the process is and what it involves. And I really wanted to make that because when I started out, I had absolutely no idea where to start, how to start. And I found it quite frustrating because, you know, you have to learn as you go, which is normal with anything that you start. But I kept hitting walls everywhere and I was like, okay. The class is more about the process of 3D clay printing and what you need to learn when you want to get started, and not so much the different techniques and 3D design and things like that. I think I'll do some more videos on that in the future, but I just wanted to get the basics out there for you guys so that you can see what it involves. I've put the link below for the class. The first 1,000 people can watch it for free, so that's cool that you don't have to pay for it. Another thing you can find in the class is an Excel spreadsheet. And what I've done is taken everything I've learned from what you need to record in order to, you know, learn about your print and what you're doing. For example, flow, air pressure, speed. I've put everything in little columns so that you can record each time you create a new print with your printer, because I feel it's important when you're testing to write things down, because if you don't see where you're going wrong, then how are you going to fix the problem? So I put some important things in there that you need to look at so that you don't struggle with the same stuff over and over and over and over. So you can actually see where you're going wrong. And I think that really helped me and it really sped up my process. So I thought I may as well add that for you guys, you know, so you can have a look. So with the YouTube videos, I've decided that I'll be uploading once a month at the end of the month. It'll probably be the last Friday of every month, or I'm not really sure yet, we'll see. But it'll be towards the end of the month. And I can share more with you guys in terms of what's going on and what I'm doing. And I don't have to freak out because I don't have a video planned for that week. I can pretty much just film what I'm doing during the month and then put it all in one video, which I think will be a lot easier. I'm so excited for this year. Oh my gosh, I can feel I'm talking even faster than usual. And I remember someone commenting the one time saying, you need to talk slower. And I'm just like, but I can't. And the funny thing is, when I'm doing my Skillshare videos, I have to talk really slowly. And it's so hard for me to talk so slowly. I literally have to slow my brain down and just be like, and then just start talking. And with Skillshare, it takes me so much longer to record a video because I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And then my brain forgets what I'm trying to say. And then I have to think. And Skillshare doesn't like you to cut away too much. So you have to talk and talk and talk and talk. And yeah, not cut away too much, except if you're like inserting like B-roll, like other edits. Anyway, tangent off the topic. But I quickly want to show you what I did to my printer last year, for those of you who haven't read my blog. So I have a Delta Wasp 2040 clay printer. And I was so excited when I got it. I mean, I'm still excited, but I was so scared of the machine. I was scared I was going to break it. I was scared of so many different things. And in the process, some wires like broke off. It was one of the scariest moments I've ever had because it's from Italy. It's not like I have support here in South Africa. I actually have to contact the people in Italy, send them photos, then they have to tell me how to fix it. So I had to learn how to cross some wires, bend some things, because I broke the conductor thing here, as you can see. Yeah, well done, Hendrien. But I managed to fix it. It was quite stressful. So I spoke to my business coach and I'm talking to him, explaining like how I'm feeling, and you know, I feel like the world's imploding and I have this amazing machine and I'm not getting anywhere and what am I doing with my life? And then he's like, it sounds like you guys need to work on your friendship. And I was like, you're so right. And we need to bond and I need to stop being scared of the machine, and I just need to enjoy the process and just do it, because it's scary when you're doing something that you have absolutely no idea what you're doing. So straight after the call, I went into my craft box and I got out some googly eyes, and this is what I did. There are my googly eyes. Doesn't she look a lot less intimidating? I think she does. And this really, really helped my process, even if you think I'm completely nuts. And now we're like the best of friends, like ever. Like, I think we should get friendship bracelets. Don't you think? No? Okay, not your thing. We're going to start by looking at some of the first prints that I did. Now, I'm actually printing my prints on transparency paper. Transparency paper is quite thin, and I do have wooden boards that I could print on, but they're like 1.5 centimeters in height, and my printer can only print 40 centimeters in height, so I don't want to lose that extra height. So I was looking at different ways that I could do this, and someone gave me the great idea of print it on transparency paper. It actually works. And I was like, and it actually really did. And yeah, I don't have any plaster boards, so at the moment I'm just using transparency paper until I get my plaster boards. So let's have a look at what happened. So this was the first one that actually came out, where the clay was actually coming out properly. The speed here was a bit too high. The printer was printing too fast. Also, the layer height was too high because the clay wasn't able to hold its shape. So the clay was very, very wet. And with the angle of the pot and the way it was supposed to print, it wasn't holding its shape at all. You can see I'm trying to fix it just to see what the printer does, but it's busy falling in on itself there at the back. So yeah, there was no hope for this one. And yeah, the printer, if it goes over an area that's not like flat, as you can see, it just bubbles up. Like you can see the printer doesn't print properly at all. So yeah, that was a fail. The second one I did still wasn't working. I slowed down the speed quite a lot, but I kept all of the other settings the same. And I shouldn't have, because there in the back, it's still falling in on itself. So it's all about speed. This one, I slowed the speed down so much. It was printing so slowly. As you can see, it was like, wee. I really just wanted to see like where was I going wrong. So I slowed it down to like snail pace. But as you can see, it's at least printing smoothly. So that's a bonus. I didn't change the clay. It's still the same clay that I had. But because I slowed the speed down so much, and also increased the flow so that the thickness of the walls of the print were a bit thicker, it made a huge difference, and it's holding its shape. How cool is that? And this was actually the first print that I did that didn't fall in on itself, so super proud of myself. So in my design, I created loops within it, little circles, so that when it prints every few layers, it actually has to make a loop. And I made small loops and larger loops because I wanted to see how the printer prints it and how it falls. Because naturally, if you want a loop, you want it to be even. But as I was looking here, the faster the speed, the loop kind of loops like goes to the side. So the slower the speed, the loop has a more uniform shape. So I just wanted to see, you know, what does that do? So that was quite interesting to see. So now I'm starting to experiment, and I was like, okay, let me, instead of having like straight walls that go straight up with the print, let me look at creating some indents. So to see what the printer does when the shape is not just uniformed, it's actually got a few indents in it. And I created this design, and once it started printing, I was quite surprised because the layers that you do in the 3D design was not exactly the same as the layers for the print. It kind of looks like a basket. And I absolutely love it. And the amount of circles that are going around are not the amount of circles that I actually did in the 3D design. They're completely different. But when I exported it into the slicing software, this is how it read it. And it was interesting to see that it's not exactly the same as the 3D design, but it still looks freaking amazing. I think that's also why it's really important to test some of your stuff, because I don't think the print doesn't always come out the same as the design. And I've noticed that with some of quite a few of the prints that I've done. The printer doesn't always read it the same as you do. So, and I did a few of them before I actually got it right. I thought this was pretty cool. So here I wanted to see what would happen with the print if I printed it at an angle? Would it be able to hold its shape, and how far could I push the printer? And it seemed to be going really well, except for the fact that there's this random line in the middle. There you go, the half moon that it keeps printing. I was like, I didn't put that there. That's not something that I designed. And I went back to my 3D design before I actually exported it. And there was a line that I drew there that I didn't trim away. And I may have, in the 3D design, created two separate bodies accidentally while I was rushing, because I actually just wanted to see what the print looked like. I was like, blah, 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 blah. I was trying to bang it out as fast as I could, and I just accidentally forgot a line there, and I extruded it, and the design picked it up immediately, and that's why it's printing it. It was actually two separate bodies once I printed it, because what's really amazing with the Wasp printer is that it doesn't have to have one smooth flowing line. It can actually stop printing, move on, start with another shape, and then print that again. So that was pretty cool. So it's actually two separate shapes. So it didn't really have that much of an impact on the last part of the design. It could just easily come loose. So that was fine. I was super impressed with the shape and the fact that it was holding, and I think I did slow the printer down quite a lot. The speed was quite low, but the clay was holding as well, and the clay is actually quite wet here, and it seems to be working. So, you know, I guess if you slow down your print quite a lot, because if you look at the bottom, the clay's already started drying. That just shows you how slow the print is, because the clay at the bottom is pretty much already dry. So what happened here is there was an air bubble, and the air bubble created a little bit of dent in the clay at the back, and as the printer was going, it went over the little dent that the air bubble created, and the clay wasn't sticking to anything. So what happens when it's not sticking, like we saw before, it actually pulls, and then, you know, the clay kind of pulls apart, and it started creating this amazing look that I absolutely loved. What I loved about this print was how the generative art aspect came in with regards to the machine doing the printing. Something random happened, like an air bubble, which was my mistake. It's not the machine's fault. And the machine just carried on printing. Printed the design I wanted it to print, but in a random kind of process, depending on where the clay fell on the first layer, would depend on where the clay would fall on the second layer. And I love the randomness of that. And yeah, so I found that super interesting. So those were some of the main testers that I found were very informative in the beginning for me, just to see how the clay worked and what I needed to look at. But I had some bombshells. I'm sure some of you may have seen, but that one where the air bubble shot straight through one of my pots. I turned my back. I was busy writing something down, and I just heard bah! And I thought, oh my God, has the air compressor, something's gone wrong with the air pressure, what is happening? And as I looked at my print, there was this massive hole shot straight through my print. And I thought, well, that was pretty cool. I had a few things that happened that were surprises that you obviously don't expect. For example, when you put the air pressure on in the tank, at the back you've got the container for the clay, and you put a stopper in after you've put the clay in, and this stopper pushes the clay down and the clay comes out of the piping at the bottom. But when you put the air pressure on, the stopper makes a noise of like ba 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 as it's like moving down the container. And it's not that loud, but it sounds like a piece of machinery that's breaking. And yeah, so I learned very quickly the sounds that the machine makes and why it makes those sounds and noises. So what you do is you put Vaseline in the container before you put your clay in and before you put the stopper in. And that actually helps the stopper to move nice and smoothly as the air is pushing it down. Also with pottery, I find my lips dry out quite a bit when I'm working with the clay. It's obviously the dryness in the air, also in my studio. So now I can just double use the Vaseline for my lips as well. So I use it for my equipment and then for my lips. Yeah, love it. Another one was the pipe that connects the clay to the extruder kept popping out for some reason, and it was getting super annoying. And I thought that, you know, what was going on, and it was the stud that was connected to the extruder where the pipe goes in. That thing kept having it pop out, and I obviously at some point I may have dropped it or something, and the connector broke. So I just had to buy a new one. It wasn't the end of the world. They're not that expensive. It's called a male stud. Why don't you just call it a stud? Why do you have to call it a male stud? It was so weird on the invoice. Another part was where the cover came off the wires, and this was part of the conductor. Yeah, so I pulled off the cover, meaning some of the wires that were coming out, the little parts were bent all the way back, and I had to like contact Wasp and be like, hey guys, so the cover came off of the wiring and I don't really know how to fix the problem. I got this email back and they were like, they've never had this happen before, and they're not really sure how this happened. And I'm like, I'm not going to explain it right now. All I know is that it probably hooked on the printer. But anyway, let's just move on. Just tell me how to fix the problem because I'm so embarrassed. So they actually had to send me a video of some guy showing me how to like put the wires back, how to push them back, how to bend them back, and then also how to connect them. I felt so stupid. And I think these people in Italy were probably like, what is this woman doing with the printer? Like, what have you been doing? You've had it for a month. Oh my God. So I was pretty embarrassed, but thankfully they showed me everything I needed to do and the printer is now working and everything is fine. So I was so embarrassed, guys. I was so embarrassed. But thanks to Wasp, they were really helpful. So I really appreciated that. The other thing was when I bought the air compressor, let's just be honest. I'm just going to be honest. I have a fear of compressed air in a tank. I always have. It scared me, and now I have one. Mine's only 12 bar, so it's not like a massive compressor, and it's also one of those silent ones. And to be honest, they say it's a silent air compressor, but it's not really that silent. So I have it outside when I'm printing, and then the pipe just kind of comes through the window and connects to my printer. Anyway, I had to go and buy connectors because the connectors that I had for the printer with the piping, it didn't want to work and the air kept like coming out. So whenever I connected it, the air would just start coming out and you can hear the air because it goes like the sound of air just escaping. So that wasn't good. So I had to go get that fixed. And there was a lovely guy at the machine mart. Shame, he was so young actually. And here's this woman who's like trying to explain to him what a 3D clay printer is, number one, and that I need compressed air and the connectors are not working. And I tend to not explain things very well sometimes unless I've thought it out. And when I'm in a rush, words just come out. And this poor kid was like, he had no idea what I was trying to say. But we got there in the end, so I was very thankful to him. And now everything connects and there's no hissing sound of air escaping anywhere, so that's good. Once the air problem was solved, I had clay that would come out of the piping and then start like escaping out of the piping. It wouldn't actually stay in the piping. It would like come out and just go everywhere. So number one, the clay was maybe a little too wet. It wasn't the air pressure because they have like a air pressure valve at the top so air escapes. So that the pressure doesn't build up too much, because obviously my fear of the tank exploding won't happen because there are safety measures, but hey. And each time something went wrong, I got better at managing my panic-stricken state. I think I just got over it after a while and realized things are going to go wrong and you have to deal with it. Because as a potter, I think a lot of the potters out there would agree, there's always things that go wrong in the process until you've worked out your pottery process and what that is. So it's very much a learning curve and experimenting. And that's the same with the machine. But yeah, I did throw up some surprises and I did go into like a flat spin panic like once or twice maybe. But now I'm super chilled. I think that it's going a lot better. I know what I'm doing. I feel a lot more confident in the fact that I understand the processes now and also, how to handle the printer. And like I said, our friendship is strong. We've got a good bond now, so I'm not too worried anymore. But in the beginning, it was rocky there for a moment. I wasn't sure if we were going to make it, eh? I am just as excited now as I was last year when I received the printer. I think I was in shock for like a month or two. Then I had like the panic and then I had the complete meltdown and like decided to take a month off. But now I'm like, I think after everything, and now that I've tested and I kind of know what I'm doing, I'm more prepared for what's to come. I'm so excited to share my art with you guys. That will be starting next month. And also, I'll just be going through the processes. Because I'm on so many different platforms, I didn't realize it in the beginning. You slowly start building up which platforms you are on. And at some point, it can get confusing for people. I've got a blog, I'm on Skillshare, I have YouTube, I'm Instagram, I've got a Facebook group. There's a lot. So I'm putting everything in a monthly newsletter that will go out at the end of the month. So if you'd like to get the newsletter, just go to my website, the link's below. Scroll down and just subscribe to my newsletter, and it's a monthly one that will be coming out. So if you want to know what's going on, because sometimes I don't even know what's going on. Thanks so much for joining, guys. I'm really excited to be sharing some of my work and projects with you guys. And also what's happening with you guys and where you are in your process. Are you just doing pottery? Are you just doing 3D design? Or are you doing both like me? It doesn't matter. We don't all have to be doing exactly the same thing. So that's kind of what makes this process exciting, is you don't necessarily have to do just 3D clay printing. You can do 3D design and printing with other materials. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.